Have to admit, feels like it's been a hot minute since I last did one of these, but hello, Internet, and welcome to a Metroidvania map announcement video and mini review. If all you are interested in for Blade Chimera is the map, and more importantly, where do I find all 56 of those bloody puzzle pieces, I've got the map guide for you. It's available over at coffee.com/Demajen and at demajen.co.uk/Blade Chimera, capital B, capital C, because for some reason my website is really picky about capitalizations when it comes to redirects. I'm working on it. My website is, as always, very much a work in progress. I'm trying to make it the very best, shall we say, the best that it can be. But Blade Chimera map was an interesting endeavour, shall we say. Finding all the things, completing all the quests, and then finding a way of turning it into something that is actually a little bit more usable at a glance than the in-game map is, was my goal. So as you can probably tell from the image on the screen in front of you, I redid the map from scratch. This isn't an upscaled version of the in-game map. You know, you can actually tell that the shapes of the rooms are different. Now, I took, as I've been doing a reasonable chunk of, I took the Blasphemous style map that I've used for Super Metroid, Metroid Fusion, the Igravania games, and I recreated the map. And I've added in different colours, different zones, all of that kind of stuff to make it a little bit easier for people to basically say, oh yeah, you need to be going to the medical centre ruins, or you need to go to the leisure district, or oh, that thing's in the amusement park. These are all things that the game tells you, but then you kind of have to think about, well, where actually is that? Now, you'll notice, for example, in, let's say, the shopping mall, that there are bits and pieces that aren't coloured in, that are left the default colour. Likewise with the medical centre rooms, there are bits that are in the original colour. And the way I've done the colours is, I ummed and ahed about this, if I'm honest. But the way I ended up doing the colours was using the actual quest list, because for some of these quests, for example, kill 20 demons in Phoenix Gardens, it highlights Phoenix Gardens, and it's just that bit there. It's not these rooms over here, it's not this secret room here, it's not this bit here, it's just that section. I don't know whether this was the best way of doing it, but it is nevertheless the way I have done it. So you know that if you have to say, if you're doing that, you know, kill 20 demons in Phoenix Gardens, you know that these are the rooms that you need to go to. Is this a good idea? Is it not a good idea? I don't know, but it's the way that I've done it, and it makes the map kind of cool to look at as. Everything that you could really want is on here. We've got all the weapons, any cash pickups, any of the doors that require X numbers of puzzle pieces to open. We've got V for vending machines, we've got all the bosses, we've got any kind of terminals or consoles or anything like that that need interacting with. We have got all of the puzzle pieces, all of the consumable items and stuff that you can pick up, all of the rewards for opening the doors. We've got all the water marked on, MP up, HP up, basically everything that I always put on my maps, which includes shop inventories here at the Armory and over here at Escargot's shop. We've got breakable walls and floors and so on and so forth. We've got little mini skull icons for any bestiary items that are particularly difficult to find. We've got little purple icons for where to go to complete certain side quests. I wish there was a better way of doing that, but I couldn't think of one when I was doing it. There are certain dotted lines drawn on these connect up either the jetpack to where you need the jetpack, or where you have to go from a particularly slow and quite frustratingly slow section of the game. No, well, I can't say spoilers, because you're looking at a picture of a map of the full game. Save rooms are in red. Fast travel, transport, train room things are in yellow. Dark areas, they are actually even darker if you look at them. I've layered an effect over, but you know. So water's on there, breakable walls, the switch shutters are all on here as well. Basically everything I could think of, and a big old list of all of the quests, their rewards, yada yada yada. But realistically, what people are wanting this for is, where are these puzzle pieces? There's 56 of them scattered throughout the game. How do we find them, and how do I get 100% of the map uncovered? Because there are a few secret rooms knocking around. I've also got keycard coded doors and stuff on there as well. All in all, pretty decent game to map out. Not super challenging to map out. A little bit long-winded because of how I chose to do it, but not a particularly difficult game to map. Not a particularly difficult game to finish either. So, Blade Chimera map available. Links in the description and pinned comment below. As a reminder, this is not the guide. This video is not a guide. I'm not telling you how to do things in this video. The rest of this video is going to be my mini review. All of the up-to-date stuff will be linked in the description and the pinned comment. Go wild with Blade Chimera. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope the map helps. Let's get on to my thoughts on the game. As mentioned, this is not a long form review. I have written it out. There's a written version available over at my website, demajen.co.uk. But this isn't going to be a big 30 minutes exhaustive detail yada 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 review of Blade Chimera. This is more going to be a mini review. It's going to be my thoughts having completed the game. I was really excited for Blade Chimera. I played both demos, and the second demo in particular that I played in December impressed me because it had decent enough platforming, nothing mind-blowing, but decent enough. It got an interesting mix of weapons that looked like they'd lend some variety to the combat in much the same way that the Igavania games do for the Castlevania series. And it got some interesting kind of time-based powers with the Lux sword that I thought could go somewhere quite interesting. The full game, however, has left me disappointed. In fact, not just disappointed, but it's actually it's given me an almost sad, this could have been so much more taste in my mouth. And there's several reasons for this. It turns out that second demo that I played in December was basically like 25%, a full quarter of the whole game, the best 25% actually, in my opinion. And all of the stuff that I thought could go somewhere interesting didn't. The platforming never got more interesting. The time-based powers, apart from one kind of moment story-wise, which you could see coming a mile off realistically, nothing really came of the time powers. It wasn't super interestingly plotted out, or it was never used for any particularly exciting puzzles. And the combat just never really went anywhere. All of the different weapons that you could get, the differences between them were so minor in many ways that it didn't really feel like it had the scope that something like Symphony of the Night had. And in fact, comparing it to Symphony of the Night, I think is appropriate because it's clearly going for the Castlevania Symphony of the Night feel with its run animations and its beautiful sprite work. And don't get me wrong, the game is wonderful to look at. But it plays like an Aldi value Symphony of the Night. It's like we've got Castlevania Symphony of the Night at home with some sci-fi elements. It looks great. It's got wonderful pixel art. It's got smooth animations, just like Symphony of the Night. It has got some really catchy music, just like Symphony of the Night. It's got well-realised environments, just like Symphony of the Night. But it also has all of the worst features of these classic games, and then some. Contact damage is here in abundance. Everything does contact damage, and some of the stuff does contact damage that chunks your health because you don't have any iframes. So get caught in the wrong place and 300 health gone. Easy, quickly, just like that. Enemy attacks and the aforementioned contact damage does massive knockback. If you thought the way Alucard flies once he gets hit in Symphony of the Night was a cool gameplay mechanic, it's exactly the same. Might even be slightly worse in Blade Chimera. Hard checkpointing is here, so you will lose progress should you get caught out by some of the one-shot mechanics in the game. And whilst I can deal with one-shot mechanics to an extent, it also means that your map gets rolled back. Yes, your consumables get rolled back, and that's fine, especially when facing off against the true ending boss of the game. But any map markers that you've put on since you last saved, they're all gone as well. You have to do all of that again. You have to do the whole thing. Some people like hard checkpointing. I'm not a fan of it. I feel like we've moved past hard checkpointing for the most part for a reason. There's no coyote time in the game. Coyote time, on the slight off chance that you don't know what it is, it's that little grace period that you get when you press the jump button and you're ever so slightly too late and you've left the platform that you were on and you are still able to jump. It works with those edge cases where you're trying to get as close to the edge of a platform as you can so that you can make sure your jump goes as far as it can. It's not here. There's no coyote time whatsoever in Blade Chimera, and that means that some of the platforming feels more aggravating than it needs to. And it's not like the platforming is particularly deep or challenging. It's just a quality of life thing that isn't present here, and that's going to be a theme that runs through the game. If you've played Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, which I have quite recently actually, you'll know that there is a series of quests from the NPC called Wind, and these quests ask several things of you. Go to X place, go to Y place, fetch this, kill that, find these things, yada yada yada. I don't think I've ever spoken to somebody who's a big fan of Wind's quest. They're not bad, they're not awful, but there's a lot of them. You can only have a limited number of them at a time, and they get a little bit tedious. Now, if you thought Wind's quests were tedious, well, Blade Chimera thought, ooh, Wind's quests, yeah, we could do better than that. And they didn't. They didn't do better than that at all. In fact, the quests in Blade Chimera are even more tedious and mind-numbing than Portrait of Ruins because they lack some of the variety. Don't get me wrong, there is some variety in these quests, but most of them are go here, go to this zone, kill 20 demons. Go to this zone, kill 20 demons, and so on and so forth. It feels like filler. It feels like, our game's quite short, we need to extend its runtime a little bit. What can we do? How about a load of game length padding kill quests? So if you are fine with all of these things, contact damage, knockback, hard checkpointing, no coyote time, these tedious kill quests, Blade Chimera will definitely scratch an itch for you. As a Metroidvania, it is a Metroidvania video game. And if that's all you are after, there we go. It'll scratch the itch, but I can't say I found it particularly satisfying. It didn't satisfy my need to play a Metroidvania. I was really looking forward to it. And as I said, I came away feeling like I'd had half a meal. Now, if you are a fan of Team Ladybug, you'll probably have known what to expect from Blade Chimera. And you might not care that this doesn't really stray away from what I'm told is a very much kind of par for the course experience or serving from them. This is how they do their games. But the only one of their games that I've played was Lunar Nights. And I only played that because somebody asked me to map it, and I just cheated my way through it because I wasn't playing it seriously. I had no real intention of doing so. So I didn't get the full Lunar Nights experience. I didn't play Record of Lodos War, Deedlit in Wonder Labyrinth, or whatever the full name of the game is. I was actually planning on playing it. I've had it for ages. But if it's anything like Blade Chimera, I just don't think I'm going to bother anymore. So I've got that one frame of reference for Lunar Nights, but if this is kind of what they do, like, not super invested in playing any more of their games. So there's nothing wrong with Blade Chimera in terms of many of its systems, its principles. It's got great pixel art, it's got great music, it's got decently sized zones. It's got the bones of a decent story that isn't amazingly well told, but it didn't satisfy me. It didn't meet my expectations in terms of features and quality of life and gameplay feel when put into contrast with or when compared to its excellent pixel art and its good music. You know, I've mapped 100-ish Metroidvanias at this point, but I've played well over 150 plus at this point. And Blade Chimera, it's like it looked at some of them and said, we don't like these modern ones, let's look at the old ones. And they just kind of copied the features without actually really asking, what do people like about these older titles? And if I were a cynical man, which, let's be honest, I'm British, so I probably could be classified as a cynical man. It seems to me like there are a number of decisions made about the features and quality of life in Blade Chimera that seem, to me, designed to pad out the game's somewhat anemic runtime. I rolled credits the first ending on Blade Chimera after just over 6 hours. It was like 6 hours, 10 minutes, something like that. Which actually caught me by surprise. I actually found myself asking, wait, was that it? About 6 hours for the 15 quid asking price. Now, I've said before that I don't need my Metroidvanias to be 40-hour long Hollow Knight style experiences. I'm fine with shorter games. You know, I like Dawn of Sorrow, Symphony of the Night, Super Metroid, the old classics, most of which were about 8 to 12 hours long, depending on whether you knew what you were doing or not. 6 hours, a little bit anemic. To roll the credits. That wasn't 100%, that was to just get the first ending. And I did most of the stuff. I managed to get a further 90 minutes doing the chores, the utterly tedious side missions. Kill 20 demons in this zone, kill 20 robots in that zone, yawn. In fact, I found myself saying yawn quite sarcastically as we went on. Wait, Demajen, I hear you cry, there is more variety than that. Yes, you are quite right, there is more variety than that. There are some quests that say, oh, go and kill 10 red demons. Go and kill 10 blue demons. Go and kill 10 yellow demons or green demons or whatever. And you best hope you can remember where to find examples of these, because whilst the bestiary is great in terms of keeping track of what enemies you killed, it doesn't tell you where to find them. It tells you what the drops are, but there's no gear in the game that can help you improve your drop rates. Which is really, really dumb. But anyway. To be fair, there are a handful of boss-style encounters in the side missions, but only one of them's got any real challenge. And there are a few kind of world-building, storytelling side quests as well that add a little bit of spice to this otherwise blank canvasy, tropey world that they've created. It was a world that I was hoping would do something unique with the setup. But if you've watched my kind of demo playthrough, you'll know that as soon as you meet Lord Bale, it's like, really? You've chosen the name Bale for the head priest even, of a church that is combating demons. Oh, he couldn't possibly be a bad guy in disguise. It's like, the world building has some interesting bits to it, but the pacing is not great, and most of the major quote-unquote surprises you can see coming a mile off. It ends up retreading entirely familiar paths and tropes in an almost entirely predictable way. And the world itself has no real consistency. The zones themselves are fine. There's some interesting zones, you know, they're nicely realised, but the enemies that inhabit them, they're just kind of scattered around like a grab bag of stuff with no real thought put into why this enemy is in this place. You know, mutated alligators in the flooded lab, sure, yeah, that makes sense. Giant fireball breathing crows in the amusement park? Okay, why not? Abraham Lincoln lookalikes that shoot fireballs from a not American flag that they conjure above their heads? Okay, it was a cool design, but why is it where it is? Giant water nymph things that shoot bubbles at you in a shopping mall. Massive silver serpents that are sat coiled in the middle of the amusement arcade on top of spikes that you can summon to insta-kill them. I know Castlevania, any of the Castlevania games realistically, was never really very consistent either with its enemies. But I feel even at its weirdest, it often made more sense with enemy placement than Blade Chimera does. And there really was an opportunity in Blade Chimera to be really interesting and creative with enemies themed for each zone that tied into the storyline about how these demons were created. You know, the medical center rooms could have had a variety of themed enemies. Doctors, nurses, patients gone wrong. But instead we got robots and drones in a chunk of it for, I don't know, reasons. And I suppose technically they were guarding it because people weren't supposed to be there, but I don't know. So I'm sat trying to organise my thoughts, and as I do so, I'm trying to focus on the good things in Blade Chimera because there are a lot of things done competently. But really, all I feel in my gut is disappointment. While mapping the game, I spent over 10 hours watching back through my playthrough footage, trying to convince myself that this was a better game than my gut was giving it credit. But the last 5 hours of that footage was just me watching and reliving a slow descent into frustration and swearing as dumb decisional mechanic after dumb decisional mechanic just piled up and piled up and piled up. You know, I enjoyed the hour and a half's worth of second demo enough to put it up on YouTube. I enjoyed the start of this next bit enough to consider putting it all up on YouTube, but I kind of don't want to edit this final 5 hours. Certainly wouldn't want to try and cut out all the swearing in it because there's lots of it. And I like to be positive on YouTube. You know, somebody commented a year or so ago that all I do is whine and moan about games, and whilst that's not true, based on the video that they were commenting on, it's like, yeah, okay, I did moan quite a lot in that one. I've been trying to do less of that. And putting out a video where there's a lot of swearing and frustration, I think is fine if it's a Souls-like and you're kind of expected to go through that, oh, this is bullshit, that's terrible design, blah, blah, blah. And then actually it all comes together and you get good and you learn and so on and so forth. This doesn't have that kind of depth. And it's definitely not a Souls-like in terms of difficulty. Apparently Team Ladybug's got, shall we say, a bit of a reputation for their games being quote-unquote easy. Blade Chimera it's an easy game, but they've tried to add some difficulty / challenge to it the only way that they seemingly know how. Frustrating bullshit. It's like they looked at From Software, the bosses in FromSoft games, and said, we understand, we can do that. Only they didn't understand, and thus they have not managed to do that. I don't recommend Blade Chimera. Unless you're a big fan of Team Ladybug, or everything that I've said sounds actually amazing to you. You know, there is some fun to be had here. There were many a chunk where I said, yeah, I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying the exploration. I'm enjoying the search for these puzzle bits. But I still don't recommend it. It is, heads down, Castlevania. It's Symphony of the Night. It's a Symphony of the Night like. Not done wrong, but arguably not done right either. It's like they saw how the Igavania games did things, and They just copied. They copied the homework, as the meme goes, without taking the time to really figure out and find out which parts of those games people just didn't like. So, yeah, I'd say play Symphony of the Night again instead. Play Order of Ecclesia, play Portrait of Ruin, play Dawn of Sorrow and Aria of Sorrow. Don't know about Circle of the Moon, don't know about Harmony and Dissonance. This is a much better looking game than those, but I can't say that I had enough fun with the totality of Blade Chimera for me to really recommend it. And that is as somebody who likes the old school Castlevania games. This has all of the weaknesses of those games, but very little new and iterative and innovative beyond its aesthetic and its music to really make it stand as its own thing. So that's my review, such as it is, or my thoughts realistically on Blade Chimera. As I said, you can find these over on my websites, www.demajen.co.uk. You can find my map for the game there as well. You can pay for a higher resolution, bigger version of it at my coffee.com store if you really want to, if you really feel like you need to, or you could just say, I've already spent enough money on this, I'm just going to use the free version in the Google Drive as well. That is absolutely fine as always. If you go to my website, you can see that we've had a bit of a change around in terms of how things look. You can go to the tier list page and find where Blade Chimera locked in. I put it in the D tier. It does some things right, but ultimately it was disappointing. The fact that it's even below Soldiers, a game which I in some ways came to despise for how the devs did things. The fact that it's below Eterna Noctis. Even Eterna Noctis, a game that I've said I really don't like very much. It does more better than Blade Chimera for me. But it is in the same category as Lunar Nights. So yeah, my second game of the year mapped. We've got Super Roboy, we've got Blade Chimera. I think my review for Super Roboy will be coming out after this review, so you can look forward to that. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know down below, was I being overly harsh, or did Blade Chimera come across as just a bit mediocre, just a bit mid, just a bit short, just a bit frustrating? How did you do with the final secret / boss behind the 56-piece puzzle door? Because I got very, very annoyed. Very, very annoyed with that boss. Stay safe, everybody. Stay fabulous. Cheerio. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, why not click the like button and consider subscribing. Remember, you can ring the bell notification icon to get notified when new videos go live. And until next time, cheerio.